Well, the only thing worse than the Chiefs right now is this awful iPhone update I woke up to this morning. I mean, I can't even read the time on this stupid phone. My goodness, try to make a Monday morning worse than it already has to be. 6:04. Glad you're here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. The Chiefs fall last night to the Houston Texans 20-10, and they are not going to the playoffs. I don't want to hear about, if they just win out. Win out? They can't win a game. You got to win games, okay, to still try to make the playoffs. The Kansas City Chiefs are not going to the postseason. I don't want to hear about the eternal optimist. I don't want to hear the just got to win 4 in a row. They've lost 2 straight to mid-level teams. What makes you think that magically things will suddenly turn around when they still have to play the Chargers and the Broncos? I know those games are at home, but they've already lost to both of those teams. Stop. Stop with the if, that. I mean, last night was as infuriating a game as you are going to watch. I mean, Butker with another just doink off the upright in the first half. That had me going nuts in a game that you knew was going to come down to a field goal here or a touchdown there. That sets you up behind the 8 ball. And then you've got that second half. You've got Rashee Rice dropping passes. You've got, now people are going to rag on Kelsey for dropping that pass on the right side in the probably, maybe 5-6 minute mark of the game. Chiefs are down 17-10. But let's be honest. Patrick Mahomes did not throw a good football on that pass to Travis Kelce. I know everyone's talking about, oh, man, he bobbled it. He's a Hall of Fame tight end, interception. I mean, that was a terrible throw by a Hall of Fame quarterback. Absolutely terrible throw. He threw it behind him. So I can't even get on Kelce for that one as much as I want to. And then everyone's ragging on Andy Reid. It's 10-10, 10 minutes left in the game. You're going for it from your own, 35-yard line on a 4th down. I don't love it, but at the same time, I don't hate it. You're trying to get a spark on this team. You're figuring out a way to do it, and Andy rolled the dice. And you know what? He missed out. He screwed up. But everybody is making mistakes. It's not really just one person, John. Good morning. What's going on, my man?
What a concerted effort by the whole team.
Yes.
The only thing the Chiefs have improved at is beating themselves. They are more efficient this year than last, and basically they're the only team in my book that beats them themselves.
That's so true. Now,
example, what more a perfect example? Just first quarter to last.
Yes, that is so true. Now, the defensive line did show up in a way they haven't showed up a lot this season. I'll give them that much. But, but
right,
there's
injuries over on their side.
Exactly. Now, Mark, you were at the game last night, my man, so you're dragging in here this morning.
You just got here, right? You just got out of the parking lot.
Yeah, I went straight here. Still smell like barbecue.
You slept in the car at Truman Sports Complex last night?
Yeah, it was. I've never seen a first half like that. It was just so terrible.
Shut out in the first half, ugly as could be. Yeah. Mark's got his red on, but he's got his Nebraska big red on this morning.
Undefeated in basketball, baby. Let's go.
Nebraska's undefeated in basketball. Nebraska ball. Oh, my gosh. He's turned his attention to Nebraska basketball. That's how desperate Mark Van Sickle is this morning.
And bowl games.
Oh, my gosh. Well, right now, the data shows the Chiefs have a 16% chance to make the playoffs. They got to go 4-0 against the Chargers, Titans, Broncos, and Raiders, and then root against the Chargers and the Colts, who are now without Daniel Jones due to an Achilles injury.
Starts tonight against the Eagles.
That's right.
Eagles have to beat the Chargers tonight.
Go Eagles.
To your point, last night's mistakes, these aren't the first time they've appeared this season. That's the frustrating part of it. But, it's next year. It should be next year over on Arrowhead Drive, and certain decisions on players are pretty obvious to me of what needs to be done next year, but that's the fun part for me.
I assume part of that is Kelsey's done, right? You can't pay this guy $20 million a year.
He can come back on some kind of sweetheart deal. Like, I don't want to see the guy go out this way, This a dent in the brand, but I don't want to trade him to the Rams to get him out to L.A. or some crazy thing That's
true.
Right. So, he's welcome back at a much reduced price.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And that's up to him.
He's making $19 million. You can't have Travis Kelce at this age, at this point in his career, with a salary cap pulling in $19 million. You can't do it. It's too much money. So I agree. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going to have to get the reset button hit on them this year for the Kansas City Chiefs going into the offseason.
Last thing real quick. I think, to be fair, it's a hangover for a three-peat.
I agree.
So I can't really blame him for trying to hang on to the team, but they certainly need new blood.
I totally agree. A lot of people want to jump on Andy. They want to jump on Veach.
Right.
They want to jump on Donovan. Listen, this team's been on an incredible run. And you've had these seasons where it seems like everything that could go right has gone right at times. And this year, everything that could go wrong at times has gone wrong.
Hal.
I mean, no one's going to give up what you've been through the last half decade in this town. It just, you're having a terribly unfortunate season. And you go back to the drawing board. And yes, you got to look yourself in the mirror a little bit and make some changes. But, man, I'm not looking to blow the whole thing up. I see some of that on social media. And that is just, that's social media. That's it. That's the whole thing in a nutshell. So I pumped the brakes on it. It's not going our way. They're probably not making the playoffs, although I can tell Mark is desperate to try to find a lane. He really wants to find a lane for them to make the postseason.
I've been looking at that ESPN playoff predictor thing, and, I looked at it last week, and they can only lose one more game, and they lost it last night.
Exactly. So. And credit to the Texans, man. They had a nasty, nasty defense. That secondary's really good. And they played a great game in Arrowhead Stadium, which obviously has been a very difficult place for everybody going back almost 10 years now.
We had that one year, I can't remember when it was, but we had like 3 results go the way we needed one year on the last day to make the playoffs. I think that's when we lost to the Colts, but nonetheless, there's still a sliver, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can hold out hope.
Yep.
Just a little bit.
I'm just telling you guys, at 16%, having a win out 4 in a row, I'm not taking those odds.
I'm not betting my prescriptions and meds on it.
No, no way. Absolutely not. And, Mark, the big parlay did not hit on Friday, right? Didn't hit.
No, Kelce needed 40 yards. That didn't happen.
That did not happen. All right. Text line. Oh, Pete, only chances for a Chargers collapse. Yeah, well, they're playing the Chargers next Sunday. I am not going to bank on that right now. No way. Not a chance. We've got Kendall Gammon coming up in 1 hour. So it was a very busy weekend when you look at some of the local sports action. First off, we know the World Cup group stage matches coming to Kansas City. Next June 16th, we've got Argentina and Algeria. On June 20th, Ecuador versus Morocco. On June 25th, Tunisia versus the Netherlands. And on June 27th, we will have Algeria versus Austria. So give me a 1 to 10 ranking if I were to tell you guys these are the group stage matches coming to Kansas City. How pleased are you by this as soccer fans on a scale of 1 to 10?
It's great to get Argentina.
Yeah.
Lionel Messi's been here with Miami when they played Sporting, so he knows the good barbecue joints. He can lead the team around. So that's pretty exciting. They're defending their title.
That's good. Okay, Mark, how are you with this draw?
Yeah, the Argentina one was big. I like the Netherlands. I called that probably from about a year ago. I said I think we'd get the Netherlands here. So
why?
I just thought after talking to people who had been, searching the Kansas City area with certain countries that, yes, the Netherlands had been here scouting us. So
okay.
I think that that was one of the possibilities. So
okay.
I'm glad to see it come to fruition.
Very nice. Well, we've got those games guaranteed next year in the group stage matches. And then we'll also have, of course, a round of 32, a knockout stage round game. We don't know what that's going to be, obviously. And then the quarterfinal is going to happen on July the 11th at Arrowhead Stadium. Now, it's possible, this is what everyone's going to hope for, that Argentina and Portugal compete against each other at Arrowhead if both teams win their groups. That would mean Lionel Messi against Cristiano Ronaldo at Arrowhead Stadium if both of those teams, Argentina and Portugal, win their respective groups.
And this is their final World Cup, so this would be big.
Oh,
both
man.
of them make it here, that would be huge.
Quentin Lucas, he's going to be praying for the next 6 months for that matchup. That's going to be some sales tax money right there. Oh, man.
Woo!
Well, it is 6:14 on a Monday morning. Chiefs coming off a tough loss last night to the Houston Texans. We'll have Kendall Gammon on at 7:05 to react and talk about that. Pam Kramer, the CEO of KC 2026, is going to be here at 8:30 this morning on KCMO. Coming up, the media cannot get enough of Trump blowing up drug boats, and I'm not quite sure why. We'll dive into it next on KCMO. I cannot believe that as we sit here on a Monday morning, there is a major push, and there has been over the last few days. You know, I was out a bunch of last week battling pneumonia, and I'm still not 100%, but I'm getting better. I'm hanging in there. I'm just trying to take it a day at a time. But this has been going on now for, a couple of weeks, it feels like at this point, where there's this major push to try to condemn the Trump administration over its targeting of drug boats coming to the United States. And I think it's absolutely out of touch by those who are insisting that Donald Trump and this administration and Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, are somehow in the wrong over blowing up narco-terrorists who are trying to get poison into this country to kill American citizens. Like, just at its 35,000-foot view, that's what we're talking about here. That's the conversation. And you have people on the other side of the political aisle who are actually trying to make this a thing. Like, they've got Trump on the ropes on certain things right now. Affordability is still an issue. People concerned about the economy and what exactly things are going to look like for themselves and their families in the months and years to come. And, you know, are we doing a good enough job on getting grocery prices down and things like that? Prices are still sticky, right? But then to make it about this issue, to double down on, I don't know if Trump should blow up drug boats coming to the United States. Like, there are plenty of things that Trump does that are not overwhelmingly popular with the American people. But this is not near the top of the list. No, this is, in fact, incredibly popular, I believe. Eric Schmitt, Missouri U.S. Senator, was on ABC News this week with George Snuffleupagus, and here's what he had to say yesterday when he was asked about this very issue.
So President Trump is acting with his core Article 2 powers. No serious legal expert would doubt that the president has authority to blow narco-terrorists out of the water who are poisoning 100,000 Americans every year. If you watched the SEC championship game yesterday, the Big Ten championship game, combine those two stadiums with the number of people there, that's how many people are dying each and every year from the poison that's coming from these narco-terrorists. So the fact is, George, President Trump has been delegated the authority by Congress to designate terrorist organizations. He's done that. He sent a letter to Congress saying he was going to initiate these strikes. We've had regular briefings about it, including from Secretary of State Rubio, including from the high-ranking officials in the Department of Defense. He's executing those. And so now what we have now are Democrats who have such X-ray vision and clairvoyance that they know the intentions of narco-terrorists on boats, yet we're so blind to see that they had a president for 4 years that was operating as a vegetable in Joe Biden. So, you know, forgive me if I'm a little skeptical that this isn't all about politics and trying to take out Secretary Hegseth. That's what this whole thing's been about, George. They didn't want him confirmed. They didn't want a realist in place. They didn't want to shift from their pet projects around the world and trying to build democracies in the sands of the Middle East by the barrel of a gun. We have core national interests at stake, the homeland in the Western Hemisphere, and the rise of China. That's what this administration is focused on. The Democrats are just upset about that, and they try to create some controversy each and every week, and it goes nowhere.
Well, this controversy is certainly going nowhere. Some controversies have had some legs, to be fair, but this one is going nowhere. And I think it shows a serious ability to be out of touch with Trump's political opponents by trying to figure out how to get bent out of shape over Trump targeting drug boats that are trying to bring narcotics that will kill American citizens into this country. Remember this, Kansas in particular has one of the highest drug death rates per capita, especially when it comes to synthetic opioids like fentanyl, in the country. It's one or two depending on where you look. West Virginia is up there, but Kansas, on a per capita basis, on synthetic opioid deaths, is right near the worst of the worst in this country. If you are a Kansan, you have probably been touched by this in some capacity. I mean, every year for the last few years, we've been very involved in the Cooper Davis Memorial Foundation. That's a young man who was at Mill Valley High School a few years ago and thought he was taking an Adderall, and it was laced with fentanyl, and it ended up poisoning him and killing him. And there are way too many stories like that around the Kansas City area. You have this fentanyl. It's not like the old days, I'm going to smoke a little pot. You've got these drugs that are now laced with deadly fentanyl, and no one knows whether or not their pill is going to have enough fentanyl in it to, God forbid, kill somebody. But that's what's going on right now around Kansas City and around the country. You heard Eric Schmitt mention there that, you've got 100,000 people on average dying from drug overdoses, which includes fentanyl poisonings in this country over the last half a decade. And while blowing up drug boats is not going to be the single thing that slows that down, because a lot of these drugs are still coming in through various ports of entry and not all coming in through speedboats across the Gulf of America. I admit that's not going to be the single thing. But you know what? It sends a damn good message, doesn't it? Who's against the message that is being sent when the American government says, you know what? You want to try to get drugs into this country by speedboat? You're getting your doors blown off, literally and figuratively, and you ain't coming back. That'll make you think twice. And while it's not going to create a fail-safe, at least it's moving things and trending things, I believe, in the right direction, considering, as Eric Schmitt noted there, the last guy in charge was a total vegetable and didn't do a damn thing about any of this. So sign me up. 913-408-7957. Got a minute. Mike in Kansas City. What's up?
The cartels have corrupted governments of Mexico, Colombia, all those countries. What makes you think they haven't corrupted our government? When I listen to some of these people on TV talking, the only people that are not benefiting from this are the cartels. Every time Trump blows up a drug boat, it's less money for the cartels. Follow the money. And I really think that some of these politicians that are so vocal, somebody should be investigating their funding.
Well, I think it's more, and I understand that. Listen, you can sell me on almost anything these days. But I think it's not necessarily about their funding from the drug cartels. What it's more about is just trying to get Trump on anything they possibly can. And if Trump does it, it has to be bad. And there are certain things that you just got to give up on. Just got to say, okay, I think most Americans are going to be on board with this guy blowing up drug boats in the Caribbean. Yeah, I think that's one of those things that most people are going to say, even if they don't love Trump, you want to stop fentanyl from pouring into the country. That's not a red-white, it's not a red or blue thing. It's a red, white, and blue thing. It's an American thing to protect our own citizens from this kind of poison. 913-408-7957. We got our 6 at 6 coming up at the end of the hour on KCMO. You guys see the drama around Frank the tree?
Yes, I did.
Not Frank the tank, Frank the tree. Frank the tree in the historic Northeast had a toast on Saturday as this 250-year-old tree is set to be removed early in the new year. So this tree is going to get taken down because it's got fungal root issues and diseases. So it's got to go. But it's caused a lot of drama in that part of Kansas City. The Star writing here this morning, Kansas Cityans gathered in the historic Northeast on Saturday to toast a tall tree that stood over the area for centuries before it has to be chopped down next year. Frank is an oak tree, shares a name with a former owner, and is believed to be about 250 years old, meaning it grew before the Civil War, before Monroe Avenue existed, and before Kansas City was a city, and before Missouri was a state. Frank was recognized as an official Liberty tree by the Missouri Department of Conservation around the bicentennial in 1976. So next year, of course, is 250 years, and that's also the year that Frank is scheduled to come down. The tree has fungal root disease and must be removed for safety reasons as the roots have deteriorated. Now, some local residents have protested this and been like, well, do we really have to take it down? Well, unfortunately, given the litigious climate that we find ourselves in right now in this country, especially it seems like in Kansas City and in Missouri, where the trial attorneys run wild, the last thing this city needs is a tree branch off of Frank to come down, hit somebody, and then they got to settle a six-figure lawsuit because they knew that this tree had fungal root disease and they did nothing about it. That's why this tree has to come down. And listen, I'm a big tree guy. I got 2 great trees in my backyard. I think about them all the time. They're ash trees, so apparently they last maybe 40 to 50 years. And the 2 ash trees in my backyard are probably 35 years old. So I worry about them because we get a lot of shade out of these ash trees. I got to treat them. I got to do the whole thing. So I like those big, beautiful trees, as Trump would say. I'm a big fan. But the city's got to take this thing down. Because and I know they are setting themselves up for a lawsuit of all-time lawsuits if they don't take it down, knowing full well the tree has fungal root disease. So if you want to be mad at somebody for all this, be mad at the attorneys, be mad at the hucksters and the grifters who are always looking for somebody to sue, and they would absolutely sue the city over this if, God forbid, something happened with this tree.
Of course, the city's not responsible if it lands on the sidewalk out there. That's your responsibility.
That's on you. Yes, that's exactly right.
I was following the story, and I'm like, wow, that's a pretty old tree. I wonder where it's at exactly. Just a typical wooden fence. The woman that lives there now goes, oh, I didn't know. I moved in August. Yeah. Right? So I'm like, it's not even like commemorative anywhere or been noted over the past. It's just in somebody's backyard, and it's kind of deformed over the years with branches breaking off. It looks like it's top-heavy in places.
I mean, it's kind of a really ugly tree, to be honest.
Right.
Let's be
old
honest.
And gnarly, so yeah.
It is kind of a nasty-looking tree.
So it's time for commemorative Frank decorations.
Yes.
Maybe some stationery out of wood pulp from the sawdust.
Maybe they can sell off pieces of Frank.
Right.
Like you buy seats from old stadiums when they get taken down. You could buy a branch of Frank and get it, inscribed or something like that. I don't know. Just trying to think of ways for the city to make a buck off of this.
Wood rot.
Yeah, exactly.
Make it like the Giving Tree, that old story that I read when I was a kid.
I love the Giving Tree. We got that book at home for the girls. And we had Claire's 7th birthday on Saturday. I cannot believe that we have a 7-year-old. And we had a great time. Kate did a great job organizing the party at ROKC Climbing Place down there in Olathe. We had an outstanding time. She has a very good group of friends, and everyone had a blast, including Dad. Dad was enjoying watching everybody just climbing. Oh, man.
Dad don't want to leave. Where's he at?
Yeah.
Everybody's in the car.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at my own kids go up these rock climbing walls. In the meantime, if I got halfway up the wall, I'd be like, get me down from here. I'm like, I'm sure
911.
Are these my kids? I mean, I couldn't figure it out because there's no way I'm going up these rock climbing walls like they were on Saturday morning. But it was a busy weekend. We had the Big 12 championship. You had all these games happening on Saturday. Then you had the college football playoff get selected yesterday. And oh my goodness, the drama around that. Let me be very clear. Notre Dame had no business being in the college football playoff. Okay? You had a weak strength of schedule that was worse than BYU's. You don't play in a conference. You don't play in a conference championship game. You lost the only 2 good games you played against Texas A&M and Miami, and you wanted to get into the college football playoff? No. No way. But then something worse happened. Notre Dame decided that they were not going to even play in a bowl game because they didn't make the college football playoff. What a bunch of whiny crybabies. Now, it's not like K-State or Iowa State. They are not playing in bowl games, but that's partially because they're not going to have a team in a couple of weeks, right? They both have new head coaches. Of course, K-State's got Colin Klein back after Chris Kleiman retired. Iowa State lost Matt Campbell to Penn State. They got a new guy coming in from Washington State. those rosters are going to be decimated. I somewhat understand that, but at the same time, I don't blame the Big 12 for fining them $500,000 because the Big 12's got to look out for its TV partners that are cutting big checks to these universities. And part of the reason they cut big checks is because of bowl season. And you now have multiple teams saying, I'm good, I'm passing on the bowl game. But Notre Dame taking its ball and going home and crying about it because they didn't make the college football playoff? They were the first team out. And if you wanted to make the case that Alabama should not have been in because they got blown out in the SEC championship game and they had 3 losses, you could make that case. But at the same time, I don't believe a team should be punished for making a conference championship game. The bigger outrage is that BYU was never in real consideration for the college football playoff. BYU, which entered the Big 12 championship game with 1 loss on the road against Texas Tech, who I believe is the best team in the country right now. Then they go to the Big 12 championship game. They lose to Texas Tech again. I'm sorry, but you know what? BYU, which had a better strength of schedule than Notre Dame, had a better strength of record than Notre Dame, and was better against top 25 teams, got more screwed than Notre Dame did. And what is BYU doing? BYU is playing in a bowl game because that's what big boys do. They do not take their ball and go home and cry about it. And my goodness, the way that Notre Dame handled this entire situation yesterday is an embarrassment to that program. Join a conference and grow up. That's what I've got for the Irish.
And they missed a chance to play in the best bowl around.
The Pop-Tarts Bowl. They didn't want to play BYU.
They were scared.
I think they were afraid because here's the thing. If BYU would have rolled them, that would have blown up their whole narrative. They wanted no part of that. Steven's in Kansas City. What's up, big man?
Hey, Pete, nice to have you back, man. You use a mask or something to protect yourself from the get lots of rest and eat some ice cream and some fruit, man. I've been through two or three of those
yeah,
things.
Pneumonia, I would not recommend it for anybody. What's going on?
It's no joke. Hey, they don't call them the Fighting Irish for nothing, man. They don't listen. This I realize it's not a great look, but come on, man. Alabama fails the eye test. I mean, it's just we need a 16-team playoff. I mean, that's what's going to come of this. Having these teams, no one in the world thinks that Tulsa or James Madison is going to go to the semifinal. I mean, this whole format is. I mean, now we'll just be arguing probably about the 15th or 16th best team, but it's better than leaving Texas out and Vandy and the Irish. You know, I realize it doesn't look great, but you know, hey, sometimes you got to send a signal to these guys that you can't be rolled, and the system has got to.
Well, the system is absolutely broken, Stephen. Thank you for the kind words. The system is undoubtedly broken. There's no doubt about it. The college football playoff has been flawed since year one. Since TCU, as you may recall, fell from number 3 in the country to number 6 in the country on the last weekend of the season after beating Iowa State 55-3. And the excuse then was, well, they weren't playing in a conference championship game. Every year, the College Football Playoff Committee has basically made it up as they've gone along to justify the end result. I hate to say it, I would just go back to the BCS days, have a computer system rank these teams, and take the top 12 and be done with it. I don't think expanding to 16 changes anything because then it's the same old thing. We're debating 16, 17, 18. It's the system, it's the selection system that is absolutely flawed. I'm glad Miami got in over Notre Dame. Head-to-head has to matter. The games have to matter. But still, this committee screwed so much up yesterday, and now you've got the sport that's just a mess. The calendar is a mess. The schedule is a mess. You've got the coach at Tulane coaching in the playoff while he's the new coach at Florida. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The sport, which I love college football in many ways more than the NFL. But boy, does it need reform bad. It really does. Maybe next year I can get Bill to bring me as his +1 for the White House Christmas event that he goes to every year. I saw his son Spencer, who's a great guy, was there with him with the President of the United States late last week, but didn't get my invite. Oh, well, maybe next time. I will say that O'Reilly, to his credit, is giving away personally inscribed copies of his new book, Confronting Evil, to our top 10 donors coming up this Thursday for our Children's Miracle Network Miracle Day of Hope that we do each and every year. And we can't wait to do that once again. O'Reilly will personally inscribe a copy of his new bestseller, Confronting Evil, to our top 10 donors coming up on Thursday morning. And Wednesday, you can join us for a meet and greet happy hour at Bex in Overland Park. RSVP right now at KCMOTalkRadio.com. So last night, Trump was the MC, the host of the Kennedy Center Honors. And I know most of us were obviously watching Sunday Night Football, watching the Chiefs basically send their season up in flames with a loss to the Texans 20-10. But Trump was doing his thing last night. And Trump gets asked a very good question. And because here's the thing. The most basic questions to Trump end up with a Trumpian answer that just makes you laugh to yourself. Like this one, when he was asked what kind of music he likes and how he defines good music. And I've got two guys on this show who used to work in music radio who might get a kick out of this from the President of the United States.
Mr. President, you mentioned some of your favorite songs. In your opinion, what makes a song great?
Well, it's something that has to be soft and soothing to your ear. I like some songs that other people don't like, you know. That's why they have, you ever hear the expression, that's why they have menus in restaurants. We're all different. We all order different things. Otherwise, you just serve one meal and that would be it.
Are you a country music fan?
But I love country music. And we have the king of country music tonight. So that's another one.
President Trump.
Soft and soothing to the ears. Yes, the great soft and soothing music to the ears, says the President of the United States. You like that, John?
You can dance to it.
Oh, my gosh, yes. When I think of soft and soothing, just one thing always comes to mind for me. Oh, yes. It's so soft. It's so soothing. The Village People, they are soft and soothing to the ears, aren't they? He loves country music and he loves disco. I mean, he's a man of many talents. He loves the soft, soothing music of the Village People. There he is. I was kind of hoping those guys would have some kind of role last night, but I guess they couldn't make it. I don't know. But you did have, yes, as he noted there, George Strait, King of Country, was there last night at the Kennedy Center Honors.
You can't blow up the opening ballroom night line. They might be on that.
Yeah, maybe that's it. It was the 48th Kennedy Center Honors, and Trump getting asked about his favorite music was just absolutely hysterical. It's like when he got asked, what was it, his favorite Bible verse when he was running back in 2016. I can't pick a favorite. I love them all the same. They're all my favorites. I can't pick my favorite music. I just can't do it. It's got to be soft and soothing to the ears. I would love to see, you know how they have these, like, you see people sharing them on social media, which is just brilliant marketing by Spotify. Like your top 10 artists of the year, your top 10 songs of the year, right? And then you can share that on your Instagram or your X or your Facebook page, which is, I mean, Spotify, that is so smart what they do with that whole thing. So I would love to see Trump's top 10. I mean, I would just do anything to know what that guy is blasting on his Spotify playlist every single day. It'd be gold, man.
Andre Bocelli.
Gotta have Kanye on there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. There might be some good Kanye on there. I mean, mine would be filled. I don't have the Spotify, Kate does, but it would be a lot of Bluey. There'd be a lot of Bluey just back to back to back to back on that thing. So good job by the president last night. I mean, he's triggering his biggest haters by hosting the Kennedy Center Honors, which, whatever. I love every second of that. And I didn't watch much of it because, well, we had Sunday Night Football. But that was the red carpet moment of the night last night. Now, in the meantime, we are watching this morning. Luigi Mangione, who stands accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, is due back in court today for his continued pretrial hearing as a judge weighs whether or not key evidence can be used in his murder trial. So this hearing stems from evidence seized after Mangione's arrest. Mangione's lawyers say that items were taken before he was read his rights. On Saturday, the court authorized an additional release of evidence, including a piece of paper with a to-do list, which prosecutors say was linked to the murder of the United Healthcare CEO. Another photo shows a folding knife that prosecutors say was pulled from Mangione's pocket. There's also a Greyhound bus ticket issued to Sam Dawson, which is one of multiple aliases that prosecutors say Mangione used. He allegedly told officers during his arrest that his name was Mark Rosario, matching a fake New Jersey driver's license. During his pretrial hearing, Mangione's attorneys are challenging the way the evidence was obtained, trying to get it thrown out of court ahead of his murder trial. Gosh, listen, I know everybody is entitled to their defense, but sometimes I do not understand some of these defense attorneys and taking up some of these cases and dealing with low-life scumbags like Luigi Mangione. His lawyers also want the ghost gun and the journal found in his backpack thrown out. Prosecutors say the journal includes bitter writings against for-profit health insurers. Lawyers for Mangione claim he was not read his Miranda rights before he was searched after his arrest in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Prosecutors say under Pennsylvania law, officers had a legal right to search the backpack. Of course, he was spotted at a McDonald's, and then he was ultimately arrested. My goodness, can you believe it? That was... I mean, I just feel like this story has been going on for a lot longer than it has been over the last several months. But I know this stuff obviously does take forever. But remember this, as we have the conversation about healthcare in this country and health insurance being so expensive, and the fact that many on the far, far left, I'm not going to say mainstream Democrats, but many on the far, far left were cheering the death of this United Healthcare CEO. Obamacare as a bill, Obamacare as really its own industry within the healthcare market, has made these companies a fortune. The government getting more involved in all of this has led to the enrichment of the healthcare companies. So for the people who claim they hate for-profit healthcare companies, then you also have to hate Obamacare. But of course they don't. News in 2 minutes. We got more coming up on KCMO. So Cocaine Juan gets the big part, and that's been a source of controversy here over the last couple of days. The former Honduran president, Juan Orlando Hernandez, was sentenced last year to 45 years in prison after a federal jury in New York found him guilty of participating in a conspiracy to traffic 400 tons of cocaine to the United States. Those 400 tons of cocaine, transshipped via Honduras, were worth $10 billion in the U.S. Now, the president elected to pardon this guy. For the record, I would not have pardoned him. That being said, the media outrage over this is so fake and so obviously transparent. And Missouri U.S. Senator Eric Schmitt was on ABC News' This Week yesterday with former Clinton henchman George Snuffleupagus, and he goes on there and he gets asked about this. Now, Schmitt he does dodge the question, but you know what? I'll give him an 8 out of 10 on how he answered this question yesterday because, I mean, he just took a great shot at Snuffleupagus. Take a listen.
What do you mean you're not familiar with the facts and circumstances of the pardon? It's been well reported all across the country. He's the former president of Honduras. He was convicted of conspiring to bring in 400 tons of cocaine into the United States, also guns and other materials. It's been front page news across the country. Aren't you curious about that?
Well, I'm curious about your pushback on that particular point. With your previous guest, you had zero pushback because he's giving the Democrat talking points like you spew every single week, which is probably why your ratings are so bad. But
oh, jeez. Holy smokes. Eric Schmitt off the top rope. Woo.
Show some RESPICT.
Brutal.
to make the point, what I'm saying is that you're trying to divert here the attention from what the American people actually support. 75% of Americans support us blowing narco-terrorists out of the water in the Caribbean who are trying to poison Americans. There's no real legal debate about the ability to do that. Now, you could have a policy discussion about it, which now you see the Democrats pivoting from the second strike and the war crimes allegation to really what this whole thing is about. Should we be doing it in the first place? I have way more sympathy for my friends, my cousins, my neighbors, those people who've been poisoned by these narco-terrorists, people who've been skinned alive by these cartels as they bring people to the United States, than I do for these narco-terrorists. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. So there's legal justification for it. He's doing it. We do have more of a focus on our interests now in the Western Hemisphere, and I'm thankful for that.
Do you support the pardon of the convicted drug smuggler or not?
George, like I said, what we're talking about here are the narco-terrorists poisoning Americans. This attempt to try to focus on a pardon is classic because you've lost the debate now on the narco-terrorist question.
So that was Missouri U.S. Senator Eric Schmitt yesterday on ABC's This Week with George Snuffleupagus. And listen, Schmitt clearly doesn't want to answer the question on whether or not Trump should have pardoned this cocaine Juan, as he's dubbed, the former president Juan Orlando Hernandez, because there's really no defending it. Let's be clear. There really isn't. I don't know how you'd sit there and just say, well, you know, this guy apparently, according to the president, got screwed by the Biden administration and was mistreated, and therefore it must have been something that was worthy of a pardon. I'm not there, but it doesn't matter. The big picture is what Eric Schmitt is talking about here, which is that people who are outraged by this pardon of this ex-Honduran president are also questioning whether or not the administration should be blowing up drug boats coming across the Gulf of America to then get fentanyl and other illicit drugs into this country to poison and kill American citizens. You can't have it both ways. You can't. You can't sit here and tell me that you're completely outraged over the pardon and then be like, well, you know what else is outraging me? The possibility of blowing up narco-terrorists in the Gulf of America. Which one is it? I'm sitting here and telling you that I wouldn't pardon the guy, but I also believe that most Americans who have watched record numbers of their fellow citizens die from drug overdoses and drug poisonings in recent years, 100,000 per year is the number, and Kansas has one of the highest per capita OD numbers in the entire country, especially when you look at fentanyl. And we've talked a lot about this with our area law enforcement. We've been involved with the Cooper Davis 5K at Mill Valley High School, the young man who lost his life due to a fentanyl poisoning a few years ago. We've made this a mission of ours here on KCMO Talk Radio. So we put our money where our mouth is on this stuff. I'm certainly not going to sit here and think that the bulk of the American people are somehow outraged because some drug runners are getting blown up on a fishing boat or a speedboat in the Gulf of America. I don't believe that for a second. So that's the point that Eric Schmitt is getting back to. He's saying you've lost the narrative on this issue as to whether or not we should be allowed to do what we're doing. And as he also made very clear, the president has every right to do this.
So President Trump is acting with his core Article 2 powers. No serious legal expert would doubt that the president has authority to blow narco-terrorists out of the water who are poisoning 100,000 Americans every year. If you watched the SEC championship game yesterday, the Big Ten championship game, combine those two stadiums with the number of people there, that's how many people are dying each and every year from the poison that's coming from these narco-terrorists. So the fact is, George, President Trump has been delegated the authority by Congress to designate terrorist organizations. He's done that. He sent a letter to Congress saying he was going to initiate these strikes. We've had regular briefings about it, including from Secretary of State Rubio, including from the high-ranking officials in the Department of Defense. He's executing those. And so now what we have now are Democrats who have such X-ray vision and clairvoyance that they know the intentions of narco-terrorists on boats, yet we're so blind to see that they had a president for 4 years that was operating as a vegetable in Joe Biden. So, you know, forgive me if I'm a little skeptical that this isn't all about politics and trying to take out Secretary Hegseth. That's what this whole thing's been about, George. They didn't want him confirmed. They didn't want a realist in place. They didn't want to shift from their pet projects around the world and trying to build democracies in the sands of the Middle East by the barrel of a gun. We have core national interests at stake, the homeland in the Western Hemisphere, and the rise of China. That's what this administration is focused on. The Democrats are just upset about that, and they try to create some controversy each and every week, and it goes nowhere.
Well, it sometimes goes nowhere. I don't think this one is going anywhere. I really don't believe that this one is going to get any legs. The notion that the bulk of the American people are somehow outraged by blowing up drug runners when they have seen record numbers of their fellow Americans die from these overdoses and poisonings in recent years. You got about 100,000 people a year the last few years. I mean, that's 20,000 on top of the number of people in Arrowhead Stadium last night for the game. Everybody knows someone who has been impacted by the drug crisis in this country over the last few years, whether it's through addiction or through an accidental overdose or poisoning because of fentanyl. It's a totally different world from a generation or two ago when it was like, you know, you're going to smoke some pot and that's going to be it. You knew what it was. Those days are long gone right now. So the president, I think, has to understand that. I do believe that he put many in his own party in a tough spot with this pardon for this former Honduran president. But the bigger picture is what Eric Schmitt is rightfully tying this all back to. And that's exactly where this should go. You had a guy in charge in the country who left the border wide open, who was completely derelict in his duty to protect American borders and as a result protect the American citizens. And now you want to be outraged over this, over these drug boats, and then also over the pardon? You can't have it both ways. All right, you tell me, how much does assimilation matter in America in 2025? There's no doubt that we are a melting pot. It's part of what makes America great, but you still have to have a semblance of a culture and a country. Because if not, you have no identity. And America was always able to walk that fine line, and now seemingly over the last generation, enough people have decided, you know what, screw that. We don't need that. It doesn't matter anymore. What's the big deal? We'll just be not only a melting pot, but really have no language, have no culture, have nothing that unifies us anymore. And this is a topic that came up yesterday. CBS News, Margaret Brennan had on Ilhan Omar. Now, Ilhan Omar is a member of Congress out of Minneapolis. Of course, if you've been following the news on this story, the allegations are that they have a big Somalian population up there in Minneapolis. And the allegations are that members of the Somalian community ripped off taxpayers to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars in fraud schemes. So naturally, Ilhan Omar is trying to play the victim here in all this. And she's trying to turn the Somalian community into the victim here in all this, which, per the allegations, that's not the case at all. But it brings up a broader topic and a broader conversation that we'll have with you at 913-408-7957.
I want to ask you about something else that the architect of the president's immigration policy, Stephen Miller, said. On Thanksgiving Day, he posted, "No magic transformation occurs when failed states cross borders. At scale, migrants and their descendants recreate the conditions and terrors of their broken homelands." What do you make of this argument of failure to assimilate and sort of ruining America? How do you understand this?
I mean, when I think about Stephen Miller and his white supremacist rhetoric, it reminds me of the way the Nazis described Jewish people in Germany. And you know, as we know, there have been many immigrants who have tried to come to the United States who've turned back, one of them being Jewish immigrants. We know the way that people were described who were coming from Ireland, Irish immigrants. We know the way in which people were described back then when they were Italian immigrants. And to me, you know, we're yes, of course, ethnically Somali. We are in this country as Americans. Yeah. We are citizens. We are productive part of this nation, and we will continue to be.
So Ilhan Omar never answers the actual question there, which is, what is the value of having immigrants assimilate to American culture? Instead, she just brings up white supremacy. She makes a Nazi comparison because that's what you do, right? If you can't really back up your argument, you just call your opponents Nazis and white supremacists. But what's interesting to me is when Ilhan Omar brought up Irish and Italian immigrants on the back end of that conversation. And as someone who is half Italian and half Irish and has family members, no longer alive, obviously, but who came through Ellis Island over 100 years ago of Irish and Italian descent, I can tell you, as I know many of you can as well with similar stories in your families, that there was a desire to be an American. There was a desire to embrace American culture. That was an important part of coming to the country. Now, there were some people that didn't want to do it. I know that you probably have members of your family that may have done this, but I have members of my family going back many generations who actually went back to the homeland. They couldn't cut it here. There was no safety net, couldn't get a job, didn't feel like they could benefit themselves or their families. They went back. And maybe they just didn't like it, and that's fine as well. But when you come here, it's important to say, you know what, I'm coming here, yes, as an immigrant. It doesn't mean I turn my back on all my, cultural things that I have and do and that represent my family and represent my ancestry. That's not the ask here, but it's to be an American first when you come here and have a desire to be an American and everything that America has to offer. That is what it's really about. And that's what immigrants did for, in large part, generations. They wanted to learn the language. They wanted to assimilate and not turn their backs on their homeland and the culture that they brought with them, but understand that it was under the prism of being an American first. And now it feels like, not for everybody, this is not a blanket opinion, but in too many cases, what you have is people saying, I want to reap all the benefits of America. But then when it comes to actually assimilating or being a part of American culture, not interested in that. No. The reality is you cannot be a country of 350 million people, that's what we're pushing at this point, and have all these different pockets of basically different countries within the country. You've got to have a fabric that unites you. You have to. Whether it's through language, whether it's through culture, you've got to be able to connect that. And I know it's hard to do in a media environment that's very divided, in a climate where you can basically get whatever content you want based on whatever your belief systems are. There's not unifying shows anymore outside of like the Super Bowl and maybe a couple other things. That's all gone. That's all done. So I understand it's harder than ever before. But at the same time, you've got to have the fabric that connects you. And that's what Stephen Miller has pointed out. That's what I believe the President of the United States has pointed out. And that's why we've said also in large part, we're cutting some of this stuff off from these third world countries because you're not getting the best. You're not. I mean, the welfare dole is full at this point, okay? When you have the numbers that you had across the border over the last few years, the numbers are full. You've got to pause all of this stuff till you get the house in order. And that's in large part where the conversation needs to go from here. 913-408-7957 is the text line and the studio line. And I know that no one wants to have a nuanced conversation about it because it's much easier to sit there and say every person who wants to come to the country shouldn't be here. Or it's easy to say, see, you got a bunch of white supremacist Nazis that don't want anybody to come to the country. And that is not in any way what is actually going on for most Americans. The text line, 913-408-7957. Pete, let's not forget Stephen Miller is Jewish when she makes that Nazi analogy. That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point on the text line. She drops a Nazi analogy as a Muslim against a Jewish guy. Please, that's like an SNL skit. Make sense of that. Oh, jeez. Pete, too many folks also don't want to be U.S. citizens. They do not care about the Constitution or our laws. I mean, I think that's true for a portion of folks. I can't say that for everybody, but that's definitely true for a portion of people. There's no doubt about it. 913-408-7957. Text line and studio line here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Stu, go ahead. You're on KCMO.
Well, the word Nazi is doing double duty, depending on just how they want to best exploit it. I'm thrilled that Ilhan Omar seems to have some sensitivity to the plight of the Jews under the Nazis. I mean, stop the presses. Yeah. Ilhan Omar is showing a sensitivity to Jews.
Yes.
That's deeply out of character.
It's a breakthrough moment. It is, Stu. That's a great point.
Yeah, it's actually, she should, if there's an Emmy or an Oscar for Takia, she should probably get it because, but I just want to say something about, the waves of Italians and Irish who came in and were subject to the same kind of, well, not the same kind, but were subject to prejudice. And especially the Italians, people were willing to say that all Italians were mobsters. And that was significant. But consider Rudy Giuliani, who stood up to the mob, was a great prosecutor against the mob. And what's the ethnicity of the name Giuliani?
Okay? That's right.
So there are Italians who stood up against that Italian stereotype in every way. I'll be quiet while you list all the Somalians who have stood up against the pandemic of fraud committed by Somalians. And by the way, it's not alleged. You are too kind in labeling it as alleged widespread fraud. It's a fact. Mm-hmm. But let's hear a listing of the Somalians who have stood up, to repudiate that, just like the list of Muslims in general who have stood up and marched to repudiate terrorism. Let's hear that list.
Well, you are right to note as well, Stu, thank you, that you go back to the late 19th, early 20th centuries. I mean, Italians faced significant discrimination in the United States, often viewed as racially inferior. I mean, that is a fact. And that's not justifying, treating somebody else that way. But, when Ilhan Omar brings up the Italians and the Irish, well, you know what? There was significant prejudice, especially for the Italians going back 125, 150 years in this country. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And you're right, condemning some of this stuff from inside their own house, I mean, whether it's Ilhan Omar or anybody else of prominence and significance, that would be a step in the right direction. Instead, it's let's call anybody who's criticizing this a Nazi. It's like, what are we doing here?